Casting live from the TRICHOMES.com studios in Southern California. It's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
Hey, good morning. It's April 13th, 2022, and you're joining the Trichome's Morning Buzz. Thanks for getting with us today. We're going to break directly into today's headlines, and here's what we got in cannabis news. Today, we find out that a majority of Europeans support marijuana legalization through a new international poll. Cannabis banking is listed as a priority heading into negotiations here. And finally, Kentucky governor explores executive action on medical marijuana reform as House passed bill stalls. So again, it seems like we're getting into where the people have spoken, and essentially, they're not being listened to when it comes down to the people that are running the state. So before we go on, hey, if this is your first time, please give a like and subscribe. It helps other people looking for this cannabis info to find us, just because the way of the beast, cannabis isn't the favorite when it comes down to algorithms and whatnot. So thank you very much for that. But back to the first headline here and getting into a discussion. There's a new poll that came out. The poll is from London-based Hanaway Associates, which was sponsored in part by the Curaleaf International Corporation. It looked at 8 different European companies, asking residents whether they favor legalization and regulating marijuana for adults 18 and over. The survey was directed to residents from France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom. On average, across the 8 countries, 55% said they'd support legalization adult use cannabis, support legalizing adult use cannabis, while 25% said they oppose it. 18% said they weren't sure. We see this polling as significant because it suggests that widespread cannabis reform in Europe is now simply a question of when and how, rather than if. Hanaway Associates' Charlotte Boyer, a co-author of the report, said. Let's see. When all respondents, including those who support and oppose legalization, were asked specifically about whether they favor certain forms of marijuana access, 48% said that they backed regulated retail stores, 35% said that they supported a non-commercial home grow model, and 32% said that they're in favor of cannabis social clubs. Well, when it boils down to that, hey, we're on board for all of it over here in California. So, it's important to note what's going on over in Europe and the demeanor here. But surrounding the political support, we've had the recent debacle in the Olympics with Shikari Richardson, and where she was expelled for cannabis use when somebody else was, using substances that were actually banned by the anti-doping committee, and it wasn't cannabis, and it was seemed to be, enhancement, performing enhancing drugs and that kind of stuff, and then over here, cannabis was excluded from it. And recently, we have another WNBA player who was just caught up in Russia, of all places, with a vaporizer in her belongings and was still there under duress. So really, while cannabis is at some of the forefront here in the conversation in the U.S., it's been noted that the demeanor about cannabis also really kind of rings through the world, not just on a national level, but it rings through the worldly perception of what is okay and what isn't surrounding cannabis. So these polls are starting to say that, hey, the world is more accepting of it than it was yesterday. Boils down to the fact that, I think with the U.S. leading the way, we've got more support coming in every day, and it's because of people knowing someone that's affected positively by it. It's because of people becoming more affiliated with the conversation, becoming more knowledgeable about what this is actually doing for us, and it's because people are tired of the BS surrounding cannabis and getting in trouble for it, both here and then internationally. Um, so with that, we're going to go ahead to the next title, and this one was something I was going to bring up yesterday. Sorry for everybody that I wasn't able to make it in yesterday. Had a couple things pop up, and technically I was at a doctor's appointment, so I won't lie to you guys. Nothing big happened. I scheduled a doctor's appointment. I forgot about it, and I didn't get a message out before. So apologize about that. But yeah, here we are today with the headline is Cannabis Banking, and Cannabis Banking listed as priority heading into negotiations. Um, Top things to know about this is that essentially um, this is part of the conversation. Basically, we've talked about it before, and um, part of safety for this is that people don't get caught, or not caught, but having to hold on to mass amounts of cash during this process, right, is really what we know about dispensaries, and we know about the current state of cannabis is that dispensaries, deliveries, people in the cannabis industry are thought of to have and hold a lot of cash and or cash equivalents being cannabis that people think they can, steal and sell and get away with that. So the fact is that banking must be at the forefront of this. You can't draft laws. You can't continue to do things and line the coffers, fill the coffers with cannabis money without protecting the source of that money. It's not sustainable, and realistically, the industry itself is going to take measures into its own hands through creating other banks and doing that type of situation. And realistically, that is not what the feds want. That's not where uh, this is supposed to head in their eyes. So ultimately they have to get something done here quickly, get something on the books that is going to be amenable to the people who are participating in this, the ones that actually have the cash in their hands, the ones that are actually running the risks. So in my opinion, it's a very good thing that they have this at the forefront of the conversation, because essentially it is it's a big conversation, and it's something about public safety, not only for the store owners but for the patrons. People walking in shouldn't have to be under duress, or even have the thought in the back of their mind that the store they're at could get robbed for lack of ability to get cash out in the right ways, or the right way to bank and do that kind of stuff. So when it boils down to it, is we need the ability to take non-cash means and credit cards and that kind of stuff, as well as for the abilities to have banking regulated for these companies and dispensaries that have huge amounts of cash, because it's a trickle down thing. They take in the cash at the retail, and all the vendors get paid, and everybody else gets paid in cash, because ultimately you put it in a bank right now, you're getting taken advantage of for big percentages on your money just to put the cash in and that kind of stuff, and it's just not sustainable. Every which way they're pulling money out of the game for brands and people who are trying to bring this to the next level. So banking is a big important part in my personal opinion. And then we got the last bill, the last headline we're going to bring up, and then open it up to discussion a bit, is that the Kentucky governor explores executive action on medical marijuana reform as House passed bill stalls. And that one in particular, you know, um, let's see, a House passed bill to legalize medical marijuana in Kentucky might be stalled in the Senate in the final days of legislative session this week. But the governor on Monday reiterated that he's exploring the possibility of taking executive actions into reform. Governor Andy Beshear, Democrat, first signaled last week that his interest and what could be done at the administrative level to provide patients with access to medical cannabis, and it's become increasingly unlikely that the legislature will act by the time lawmakers adjourn on Thursday. He goes on to say, I want to see Kentucky finally legalize medical marijuana. When the people overwhelmingly demand it, the only thing keeping from happening are we don't have ballot initiatives, and then the legislature right now won't follow the will of the people. So goes on to have a little bit of video here where Preston, a follow-up question to elaborate on earlier comments about possible executive actions on the issue. The governor did not offer many specifics, saying that while there have been many improvements to medical cannabis legislation this season, it hasn't crossed the finish line. And so administration is going to look at what legal options there are out there. Well, that, Bashir sounds like he might be honest about what he's trying to do, but ultimately, without offering some solutions, it seems to be a bit more of lip service and something surrounding this election period and what time it is in our government time period for these laws and to get on the books as far as the next elections coming up. So within that, let's turn it over. I've got some time for some questions, and if we want to talk about these things or anything else, let's see what we got here in the comments. Hey, Michael Payton Sr., buenos dias to you too, sir. And Wicked Smart, good to see you. Dennis Archer, thanks to Jeff Sessions, I did 328 months without a trial. This is the atrocities of which we refer to many times on this channel, and why we've got to do something about that. That's why this narrative is surrounding this. You're someone who knows that medical marijuana isn't a phrase they allow in federal court. It's not something that is allowed to be a defense tactic or included in defense. Medical marijuana isn't such a thing on the federal level. So I hate to hear about situations like this, but they're ongoing every day. And until decriminalization happens, people are still as much as the volume of arrests is going down, and as much as we're seeing the polls lean towards the fact that the feds are acting on this less and less every day, it still is allowed for. There's still the 10,000 plant rule, which includes life as a sentence. That's a mandatory minimum. These different things have to be changed, amended, and people's lives are still at risk if it doesn't happen. Immunity Corrupts, great to see you again. Thank you very much for the love. I see Guy Velasquez says, good morning. So when does the bill hit the floor? I'm going to assume that you're talking about the MORE Act. And I can't give you that specific right at the moment. We can look into that a little bit more. I can do a little bit of searching as we're talking about here. But at the moment, I don't know that it's scheduled yet. I'm going to go ahead and figure that out. Let's see. Wicked Smart. I'm willing to bet it'll be another decade before they do anything on banking. They're talking about it. They talk about abolishing centralized banking and switching to blockchain. Are they factoring that in? When it comes down to blockchain and centralized banking, there obviously is a huge discussion going on. Right now, I do know of a few manufacturers that are trying to make the process a bit more transparent by attaching the process to the blockchain, so that from basically seed to sale, it's trackable within their ERP systems or their internal tracking systems and that kind of stuff. So whether or not the government's taking that into account, the people who are gathering the money for the government are taking that into account. And like you said, Wicked Smart, it's one of those things that if they're not thinking about this from all angles, well, then they're not doing their job. So let's hope that when it comes down to the Safe Banking Act, that they're factoring in all these different methods of payments and how it is going to be safest to transact these things on a daily level, right? And on a nationwide level, it's going to be an absolute nightmare, right? Absolutely. Um, so when it comes down to the banking, I definitely know a couple people that we can have on the show that can help me be a little bit more literate with this. It's boils down to, again, there's some loopholes and there's some ins and outs that I definitely am not as familiar with when it comes down to the banking issues and that kind of stuff. All I know is that most operators I come across, they pay their taxes to the state in boxes of cash still, and that's just you know, uh, again, not sustainable because getting robbed on the way up to pay your taxes is just not an option that you should have to weigh when it comes down to being in business and paying the ungodly tax rates that we do here in California, let alone anywhere else that you're going to be paying taxes. Here we go, Wicked. What up? How you doing? And yeah, so you know, it's been a little bit of a slow week as far as basically cannabis news goes. You know, we had a big week last week, and that started rallying the stocks and doing that kind of thing. And while you know this show is not meant for financial advice, um, nor any specifics being thrown out there, but when it comes down to the news that you're going to be hearing over the next little bit, and watching the stocks go up and down and react to the different political things that are happening, just remember that just because it's announced doesn't mean it's happening right away. Um, and and there's things there's time allotted to things that are going to be playing out when it boils down to the stocks that are available and that you know, if you're looking at the Canadian Stock Exchange or these other things, is just realize that there's a lot of betting being done uh, or betting on the U.S. markets going legal, and unless that happens, it's tough for a lot of these public companies to gain assets of which are going to, you know, uh, be fruitful. Canada was betting on a lot of the international market, and that didn't happen, and you saw the fallout there. And realistically, you know, it's in a free fall and it's plummeting, and the markets are still down. It reacted a little bit last week, but I believe that the air's been let out of those tires um, as soon as it kind of fell upon the people that it wasn't going to be happening right away. So that's my only that's the only little bit of information I have is make sure as you see the markets go up and down, the um, or you hear the hoopla surrounding the new bills and that kind of stuff, is just remember it doesn't equate to solid gains or you know, mass earnings in the stock market, not yet. I do believe that this market is going to present some legacy wealth opportunities for people who get in the right time on the right companies. But again, that is something that is not to be really explored here on the Morning Buzz. It's just wanted to touch on it because it's a slow week after a pretty big week last week, and there's a lot of people who really reacted to the news last week and went all in on some stocks and did that kind of thing. And you know, and only to find that the market went down again. You know, it's cyclical with these announcements, and realistically, all you're seeing is bump ups and then the air being let out. So, um, yeah, just you know, watch yourself on the heavy news weeks. If you're in the market or anything like that, just know that there's some changes coming, and realistically, the people who are already out there in public, they really are counting on steps forward to to make anything happen on a large level, of which they're already you know accountable for with investors' monies and that kind of thing. There's a lot of letdown still to go in the market, and really, yeah, just be you know careful when you're taking a look at the news. What with the things here, you know, I'd love to see before we go if there's anybody who wants any updates for tomorrow on any different states. The news has been kind of slow, so again, we don't like to make up news or create headlines that don't need to be out there. But today's headlines, Europe's favoring what we got going on over here, and they do find that that there is a majority, 55% of people in the European countries surveyed want it to be legal. And, I don't know if we've had too many polls in the past that we've cited here, or if there's been anything on an international level of which is starting to happen now, but you got to imagine that number is rising as well. So, yeah, I saw a question and said, "Hey, I can't get onto your app." Um, I will put up a link right here. You're going to have to grab a link. I'll put up my personal one here for Here We Grow Wicked. We'll put up my personal link to get on the app, and all you got to do is follow that and make a profile, and then you're on the app. And Michael Payton Sr., thank you for showing him that. It's invite only. We're in the invite only beta link, or excuse me, we're in the invite only beta period here, as to where we're really just trying to work with cannabis enthusiasts, people from the industry and that kind of stuff, to work the kinks out and the bugs out as we go along here on this app development. We're roughly around 3 months out from opening it up to the public and getting that going, but there's lots of incentives and daily prizes and that kind of stuff, for hanging around and testing it out and reporting back what you think and feel. So really look forward to seeing you guys on the app. We are going to be doing more lives and more exclusive content on the app, so you'll be able to get in touch with your favorite influencers. You'll be able to see a little bit more about what's going on around here. We're just turning this space into an event center, and I don't know if I've ever given you guys a tour of the spot, but this top floor of Trichomes is roughly about 3,500 square feet, and it's going to be part of a meeting space behind the doors back there. We've got an additional roughly 6,500 square feet, so it's about 10,000 square feet total up here, and we're going to start doing cannabis events, and it's a bit of an event hall for the brands that we're working with and doing activations, that kind of thing here. So we're going to start getting a lot more interviews happening here at the studio on a week by week level, on a time where we get sit downs with the brands and do that kind of thing. And so we'll be bringing in a lot more brands, and then a lot more people to review the brands as well on some of the other things that we're doing. The buzz will remain the same, but we're going to be building out a lot of shows surrounding this. So I really look forward to you guys sticking with this. And again, thank you everybody who's been a supporter from the beginning. You guys are always here in the comments and always watching on these lives. So thank you very much. And again, if it is your first time to the channel, please like and subscribe. It really, really helps other people find this content, because cannabis is still censored on these different platforms. So it really does help us get out there. And thanks a lot for joining today. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll check in tomorrow, and I'll be closer to 7 this time. I think we got on at like 7:20 or 7 something around there. Getting closer to 7, damn it. Closer to 7, just, life getting in the way. So thank you very much again. Have a great day. Be safe, be well. Talk soon.